As we discussed in the previous video, now user wants to log in inside our application, they need to send their email and password. So this is going to be our email and this is going to be the password. Once we are going to verify both of these things, we are going to generate the tokens. And now when we are going to use these tokens, so inside our application, there are going to be multiple tasks. Like a user can create new product, they can send messages, also they can edit or update their product, or they can delete their product, or they can read their incoming messages. And all of these tasks that we have right here, they are going to be private tasks. So for that, user needs to log in inside our application using their email and password. Only if the user have the valid email and password, they can create new product, send message, edit, delete, or also read their incoming messages. And now because all of these are going to be different tasks, every time user needs to verify themselves. And for that, they need to send their email and password every time. Like if they want to create new product, they have to send email and password. Same thing goes for the send message, they have to send email and password. To edit, delete, or do whatever thing that is going to be private, they need to send their email and password. Means whenever our user wants to do some private task, they have to send their identity, means email and password. And every time whenever our user wants to do some private task, if we ask them just give your email and password, our users are going to be freaked out. So for that, we already have these tokens, right? Because these tokens are going to be generated after verifying our user's email and password. So that's why when we use any application after providing email and password for a single time, we don't have to provide our email and password to do any other tasks. It doesn't matter those tasks are private or public. So everything will be handled by those tokens. And also in this case, we are going to store these tokens inside our front-end application. And obviously in future, we will see how we can store these tokens inside our front-end application. And we'll see how our user can handle these private tasks with those tokens. And obviously these tokens are going to be unique token for every user, and we will generate them whenever we are going to handle that sign-in request. And we already had that logic. We did that same thing inside our sign-in method. After reading their email and password, we'll simply verify that user, and if the user is valid, then we will generate different tokens, which are going to be access token and the refresh token. And once our access token is going to be expired, user can send their refresh token to regenerate their access token. And where we are going to store these tokens and how we are going to send these tokens to our backend API, we will see those things in our future videos. But for now, let's see how we can verify this access token. So for that, I'll come inside my auth router, and here let's duplicate one of these routes. And this time we will create this new route called profile, and the method type is going to be get. And instead of the sign in here, we will first of all use this middleware function called isAuth. And this isAuth middleware will verify that access token if this is expired, valid, and all those kind of things. And also let's use this function called send profile, because if the token is valid, then we just want to send the profile. And again, for this isAuth middleware, I have these nodes right here. And now let's create this auth.ts inside our middleware folder, and here we will add our isAuth middleware. So let's create this function isAuth, and also let's export this from right here. And this is going to be obviously request handler, which will come from inside Express. And let's complete this function. Here we'll have a request, response, and the next function. And I'll add all those comments right here. So this time, instead of reading the body, we have to read the authorization header. And where this authorization header will be. And as I already mentioned, all of the things that we are going to get as the request will be inside this request object. So if you just use this request.headers, and inside this headers, we have all of these things, but from all of these, we just need this authorization. And let's store its value inside this auth header, or you can also call it auth token. So let's call it auth token. And let's see what else that we need to do. See if we have the token or not. Because if you notice this auth token, this can be string or this can be undefined. So let's check this. If there is no auth token, then we just want to return and send the error response. And for that, we already have the helper function, as you can see. And obviously here we have to pass the response and message, which is going to be unauthorized request. And I will send this status code, which is going to be 403. And after this, we have to verify the token. And I think here I did a little mistake, send error if there is no token. And for that here you can see I have this little hint. We can use this function called JWT verify. And the reason is, if you remember previously we used the JWT.sign method and we used the secret, right? Now to verify this, we have to again use the verify method from inside the JWT and pass the same secret. So let's come inside our middleware and let's import this JWT from inside our JSON web token. And here we can use our JWT.verify method, but we cannot directly just use this inside our auth token, because whenever we are going to send token from inside our front-end application, there is going to be two things: bearer space the actual token. For example, this is going to be the same exact token. Let me copy this, and the actual auth token is going to look something like this. So for this, now we need to remove this bearer space and read the actual token. So for that, you can simply use your auth token dot split, because this is the string. Here we have to split this with this bearer space. And if we do this, then this is going to give us this value or this result, which is going to be array with this empty string. Because we are splitting this with the same exact value, it means we are also going to remove it. So there will be just empty string, and then we'll have the actual token as well. And from inside this, we need to read the second item, which is going to be index of 1. And now let me clear all of these things and let's store its value inside this token. And now you can verify this token using this JWT.verify. Let's use the same thing, JWT.verify. We have to pass this token, and then we have to pass the secret or private key, and this is the same exact string that we used when we signed this token. And after this will give us this payload, and also sometimes you will see decode instead of this payload, but I like to use this payload here, so I'm just going to go with this payload. And if you hover over on this payload, this is going to be string, or this is going to be JWT.jWT payload. But if you remember, here we will have our user's ID, right? So for that, I'm going to cast its type with this ID, which is going to be a string. And now because this payload is going to hold our user ID, you can simply check if we have this user with this user ID. So let's come down and let's use this user model.findById, where we can simply pass our payload.id. And now we can simply await for its response. And because we are using await, don't forget to wrap this function inside async keyword. And now this is going to give us the user. And again, we have to confirm if we found the user. So for that here, we are going to check if there is no user, then I will send the same error response. Otherwise, let's see what else that we need to do. Now we have to attach the user profile inside our request object. And then we can call our next function. So let's come down and add this user inside our request object. And this is going to be our user profile. So here inside this object, I'm going to add this ID, which is going to be user._ID. Then I'll add this name, which is going to be user.name. Then we can add email, which is going to be user.email. Then we can also add the verified property, which is going to be user.verified. And after this, we can simply call our next function. And as you can see here, we have this TypeScript error. We cannot add this user inside this request object. And we will fix this later, but if you now come up, then we have to now handle the expired token errors. So if our token is valid, then all of these code will run smoothly. But if our token is invalid, or if the token is expired, then we are going to get some nasty errors. So for that, we have to wrap all of this code inside the try catch block. I'm going to move all of this code inside this try block. And inside this catch, obviously, we are going to handle the error part. And if you remember, for the errors, we already have this inside our index.ts. We have this middleware function. And now if you want to, you can add all of your error logic right here. But what I like to do is, I like to add all of my error logic for my authentication directly inside this middleware. So I'm just going to come down inside this catch block. We will check if this error is instance of this token expired error. And you will get this inside this JSON web token. So if this token is the token expired error, then obviously we want to send the error response with this message session expired. And also we want to send the status code, and this is going to be 401. And if this is not the case, then let's check for another condition. And now this error is not token expired error, but this is JSON web token error. And this time we will send the same status code, but error message will be different: unauthorized access. Like we saw already, we cannot send the invalid object ID, and that same thing is going to be true here. We cannot also send the invalid JSON web token. And now at the end, we are going to call this next function with this error. So if both of these conditions are false, then we are going to send this error message to our middleware function, and this will send the error message. Now we can simply save this file, and we can come inside our auth router, and we can import our isAuth middleware. And now we need to create our send profile method. So let's come inside our controller, and I'm going to create and export this function send profile, and I'll copy all these things from inside the sign in. And now if we successfully signed in inside this application, this isAuth middleware will add that user profile inside our request object. So now we can simply use this raise.json and send the user profile, which will be inside our request.user. You can spread your request.user like this, or you can simply use request.user as well. And now we can simply save this file, come inside our auth route, and we can import send profile. Now let's save all this code, and let's see if we can successfully fetch our profile. And let's see if this token is valid. I think this is already expired. Let's open this new window, and method is going to be get. And let's add this route here, which is going to be localhost 8000. And here we have to go to auth/profile. And also we want to send the auth header. So for that you have to come inside this headers tab. And here you can search for the authorization. And inside this authorization, we can add this bearer space that token. And now if I send the request, we are going to get the session expired, obviously. So let me sign in one more time. And now we are going to get the fresh access token, which we can copy and replace with our previous bearer token. Let's remove this and add our new token. And now if we send this request, then we are going to get our profile back. This works completely fine. Let me explain what we did inside our isAuth middleware one more time. So at first we have to grab our auth token from inside the authorization header, and that's how we can send the authorization header from inside the postman. But how we can send this from inside our actual application, we will see this in future. And obviously if there is no token, we just want to send the error response. But if we have the token, then we have to take out the actual token. As you can see, we have to split with this bearer, and we have to grab the second item, which will give us the token. And then we have to verify this token with the secret key that we used earlier. And if this is succeed, then this is going to give us the payload where we will have our user's ID, which we can simply use to find the user from inside the database. And if we found the user from inside our database using this payload ID, then it means this user is genuine user. This token is valid token. So at that point of time, we are simply going to attach this object to our request.user, and we will call the next function. And obviously if this user is not valid, then we are going to send the error response back. But if this token is invalid, or if this token is already expired, then our catch block will run. And here we have different conditions to handle different errors. And if we have the error, but this is not from the JSON web token error, then we are going to simply send this to our next function, which is going to call this middleware function that we have inside our index.ts. And now the next thing that we want to handle is we cannot use this request.user. And how we can fix it, I will explain this in the next video.